Anyone who's been watching this program in the last 8 months knows there are some fairly liberal candidates running for president from the Democratic Party. A former state senator and still very active Republican, Dan Innes, believes it's time for conservatives to stand up against a rising tide of socialism in the U.S. To do so, he's heading up a new nonprofit here, Freedom Project USA. Senator Innes is our guest this morning. Dan, thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me.
So, for starters, what is Freedom Project USA?
It's a group that was started in the Washington, D.C. area and is looking at states to really begin to build the organization at the state level, states that are kind of purple. And New Hampshire is one of those. And what we want to do is make sure that the message is getting out with respect to alternative views. Let me give you a quick example. Here in New Hampshire, we have a congressional delegation that's all Democrat. We have a House and a Senate at the state level, all Democrat. So necessarily, the media is covering the Democratic activities. What's not being covered are the alternative views of the Republicans in the House, the Senate, and in Congress. And our job, in part, is to get that message out, to make sure that the voters understand that there's another view and another way to do things. A good example here is our state budget. The Democrats put forth a budget that increases spending 13% and uses one-time money to launch programs that have an ongoing cost. It'd be like you saying, hey, you know, to your spouse, we've got $50,000 in the bank, let's get a mortgage. We'll get a 30-year mortgage. We have enough to pay 2 years. So you pay the 2 years, you get to year 3, then what? Well, somebody's got to work a second job. In the case of state budgets, that second job is going to be an income tax or a sales tax. And thank goodness the governor vetoed that. I can't think of anyone who increases their family budget 13% in a year. It's irresponsible. And yet, other than the governor's veto, we haven't heard much in terms of the details of the Republican side of things. And our job will be to get that information out there and to make sure that the public has a full range of information from which to consider when they vote and when they evaluate an action that maybe the House or the Senate has taken.
It sounds like part of the mission, too, as well, is to stand up against, as the organization calls it, this sort of rising tide of socialism.
Absolutely.
This has always been kind of a Republican thing. Oh, the Democrats are socialists. Well, but now it's a bit more, the shirt fits a bit more.
It's getting very real, isn't it? And you know, I've got some family members who say, well, socialism's not bad. And I ask one of them, what is socialism? Well, they don't know. And that's a very dangerous place to be. So our job is, another one of our jobs, it's going to be a lot, is to make sure that people truly understand what socialism is about and where it will take you. Socialism involves the government owns the means of production. That's what it comes down to. And we're seeing that creep in medical care. I mean, Obamacare, to me, is a socialist sort of program. And there's this little creep that happens all around the edges. And eventually that creep becomes a stampede. We got to make sure that doesn't happen. Obamacare was supposed to bend the cost curve. It hasn't. All it did was socialize medicine to a modest extent. But we're moving closer to Medicaid for all, which in my view is socialized medicine.
What's the answer then, in your opinion? Because a lot of the Democrats are arguing, well, the free market, we've let it run for 30 or 40 years here, and it hasn't provided these things for a lot of people. They're suffering. Yeah. So what is the answer?
There's no easy answer, and I don't think you can repeal Obamacare without having a replacement first. So, you know, we've got to be very thoughtful and deliberate about how we do things. But I also think we have to point out where dangerous things are happening. So there are two directions you can go with Obamacare. One is socialism, one is more toward free markets. When Obamacare passed, the supporters of Obamacare were the insurance companies and the pharmaceutical companies. Now, if they're supporting it, how are we going to reduce costs? Because they're the ones who like to collect the money. Doctors weren't in favor of this. So it's a bad program. Now, you know, if we really want to bend the cost curve, I think we need to open things up so we have the ability to buy insurance across state borders. Geico runs ads on TV all the time. You can buy Geico wherever you are. But when it comes to health insurance, it's more constrained. And again, that's government regulation, which to me feels like another step toward more government control. The best economies are free market economies, and they run the best when they're free of excessive regulation. Some regulation is necessary, I agree, but excessive, no. And we're getting to the point where we're putting so many regulations on small businesses in particular that it's difficult for them to do business. And that's government creep, and it's government creeping into the business sector. Congressman Pappas mentioned that, and I don't have the exact quote, that there are times and places where the government needs to intervene to make sure the markets work correctly. No. Markets work correctly when government doesn't intervene.
Speaking of members of Congress, a lot of this debate centers around Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, a self-avowed Democratic socialist. Some people say she's the future of the Democratic Party. Well, you're right, Democratic socialism, right? Yeah. You're going to test me here, the professor, right? This is government control of essentially the economy with a voter-controlled government, basically.
Yeah, right, yeah.
So,
yeah.
But is that essentially
like
what
Nirvana,
the long-term
right?
fight is here for Republicans?
I think it is. I don't know how much traction that group is going to get over the coming years. They certainly are getting attention. We're seeing that our own congressional delegation won't speak out against them or against socialism that they're promoting. That concerns me. Why aren't our 2 senators and 2 Congress people speaking up and saying, they've got some fresh ideas, but this socialism thing goes a little too far? My fear is the Democratic Party is going to acquiesce and say, maybe they've got something. If that happens, we're on a path to destruction. And it's the job of groups like this one to ensure that that doesn't happen.
People point to Venezuela, obviously, as an example of socialism not working. What about the Nordic model? You've got those countries in Northern Europe, and again, I'll test you on being the UNH Business School here, Guy.
Yeah.
The Nordic model, you think of socialism as evil. People don't often think of Sweden, Denmark, Iceland, Norway,
right.
and Finland as evil.
No.
And I think, what is it?
They're expensive, though.
The UN Happiness Index, which in itself may be suspect. They're all in the top 10.
Yeah, they may be. The most efficient markets are those that operate freely. And when you go to those countries, you see that the markets don't operate freely, that the taxes are too high, and that affects people's behavior. If you want a nanny state, if you want a government that will take care of you, and you have no worries and no motivation to succeed, then go with that model. But that model doesn't work. That's not the American model. Our model is one of creating free market environments where anyone can go out there and become very successful. And that's what's made America great. That's why we're celebrating a trip to the moon, because we built a nation that could do great things. Yes, that wasn't private sector, but private sector helped. We're a nation that creates fertile market environments so you can start a business. We started an inn years ago. How much harder would that be in an overregulated, overtaxed environment like Sweden? Much harder. So I'm unwilling to make the trade-off of more government control for a big safety net. I want to be in control of my destiny, and I want everyone in this country to be in control of their own destiny and to be able to build something that they're proud of and that contributes to the betterment of society.
Following along that line, why, in your opinion, is socialism and entrepreneurship, why are they mutually exclusive?
Because true socialism means the government owns the means of production, period. That's it. And the goal of socialism is not for the free markets to run in a free way. It's for markets to run with heavy government influence. And that is detrimental to any economy. Most economists will agree with you on that.
I want to get in one last question here before we wrap up. This debate that has gone on between Congresswoman Ocasio-Cortez and President Trump is economic. There's this haze that's come in over it, though, of racial politics.
Yeah.
Do you want to keep that completely separate, I'm guessing?
Absolutely. I mean, look, these are people who are making ridiculous statements that will damage this country forever. I don't care where it's coming from. These are statements that are being made, and I think these statements have to be countered. And these folks have to be called out for who they are ideologically. And that's what it comes down to. It's about ideology and where they want to take the nation. And quite frankly, they want to go to a very dangerous place. I don't see race or gender as an issue there. What I see as the issue is bad ideas.
All right. Senator Dan Innes, we thank you for your time.
Thank you.
We'll see you out there in various campaigns, I'm sure.
Yes.